The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Woo! How's it going out there today, boys and girls in sporting land? Took a day off after I done my little Brittany Griner video that obviously pissed some people off because I lost 4 or 5 subscribers because of it. But today I want to get into the fact that Oklahoma and Texas, long-time standing rivals, and the Red River Rivalry, probably one of the best rivalries of all time, I had an epiphany. And that is, Oklahoma and Texas should somewhat join forces, at least until they play each other. Hold up, don't kill me yet. But they should join forces, at least until they play each other, especially with both of them going into uncharted territory with the SEC. They come together in the SEC, so they obviously come to a common ground and decide to go to the SEC. Also, the recruiting for both teams has picked up extraordinarily. Let's talk about it. Well, here we are again. Another episode of the Outlaw of College Football. That's me, the OCF, also known as JPC. That's right. And today, class, I got something I want y'all to see. It's called Truth Serum, also known as Jose Cuervo. I partake in a little silver tequila ever so often because my doctor told me that silver tequila is basically the only thing you can drink as a diabetic because of the plant that it's made out of. But that's neither here nor there. Let's move on to the subject at hand. Why Oklahoma and Texas should join forces in their upcoming venture into the SEC. But before I get to all that, I'd like to touch on something else that I just touched on in the lead up. And that is the fact that I noticed I lost some subscribers from the Brittany Griner video. So I'm going to tell y'all like this. If you think in the future that you're going to have issues with me expressing myself when it comes to matters that are somewhat slightly political, you might as well go ahead and unsubscribe to me now. Because later on down the road, there's probably going to be another video just like that that's going to piss you off. It's called having an opinion. And nowadays, if you have an opinion and it don't really gel with what people are doing on the left, and this is why I have a problem with people on the left and people that are supposed liberals, the ones that hijack the Democratic Party. The reason why I have an issue with y'all is because you don't allow people to have an opinion. When they have a difference of opinion from you, you try to crookedly and corruptively banish them and to label them with untrue labels. So here going forward, if you have an issue with me calling you out on that, then you need to unsubscribe to my channel because I'm not going to stop doing that shit. When you piss me off, when you drag our sports into politics, then I'm going to give you my opinion on that political issue. Now, moving forward, Oklahoma and Texas both have been at each other's throat for quite some time. I've even noticed in this offseason they're sort of really competitive, you know. They're going after some of the same recruits as they always have for the past century. But they always get their fair share, both of them. Because the state of Texas and the state of Oklahoma together, that's a lot of territory and a lot of players. And you can't get every single one of them. So some of them's going to go to Texas and some of them's going to go to Oklahoma irregardless, because Texas can't get all of them, neither can Oklahoma. So that means they're going to go to other places as well. But for the most part, I'm not saying they should form some kind of company together or some kind of coalition. I'm just saying that you guys, I know as much as it sounds backwards to you probably at Oklahoma and Texas, you need to root for each other when it comes to other games. I think that the Oklahoma-Texas rivalry has sort of lost a little bit of its luster in the last few years because of the fact that Texas has sort of fallen off quite a bit since their national championship type runs back in the early 2000s under Mack Brown. Back in the early 2000s, that Red River Rivalry was priceless. And even before that, back in the 1980s, 70s, that was a priceless rivalry that not many rivalries can match. You might could say the Iron Bowl and maybe the game between Ohio State and Michigan might be able to rival it, but the uniqueness of the rivalry in and of itself lends me to think that these guys should work together somewhat. Like I said, not saying that y'all should lay down and roll over for each other. I'm saying that y'all should work together. Like, for example, let's say that there's a recruit that's considering Texas, Alabama, and Ohio State. He's not really considering Oklahoma. In that situation, you need to root for Texas. Because Texas and Oklahoma, the Red River Rivalry being what it needs to be, it sheds a positive light on both programs. Recruits are watching that game year in and year out. So the recruits see that game and they know that it's got national implications, then they're going to want to be a part of that. Whether they go to Oklahoma or Texas, doesn't matter. The fact is that they're going to go to one of those programs and continue the tradition of the Red River Rivalry and make it something that's a national implicating type game. That's what it needs to get back to, because if it's a national implicating type game, well, then it puts Oklahoma and Texas both on a national stage, and it puts them in the psyche of these recruits nationwide to say, hey, I want to be a part of that. So here going forward, instead of hating on each other, I know it's hard to do, especially with a chief rival, because I know I'm an Alabama fan, and I know if someone asked me to root for Auburn, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But the difference is between Alabama and Auburn in the Red River rivalries, these two teams are in separate states. So, y'all can live and let live with each other a tad bit better than an Alabama and Auburn could, because they're in a small state and they're both fighting over basically the same recruits somewhat. And Auburn, I'm not saying this in an unbiased manner, but our rivalry with Auburn has a lot of underhandedness to it. Auburn has tried to basically get Alabama on probation numerous times. Alabama's probably tried to do the same thing to them. Oklahoma and Texas don't seem like they're that way to each other. And that's why I say that being partners and trying to make sure the other one succeeds when it comes to other teams can actually benefit both of these teams in the long term. And that's all I got to say about that. If you don't mind, look up underneath here. There's a little heart option. It says thanks. Click that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. Get me off the YouTube teat, because they have been sort of shadow banning me on that Brittany Griner thing. They put me on limited ads because I made my opinion known on the Brittany Griner situation. They sort of punished me, just like they did on my former channel that I used to have. It used to be called J&J Outlaw Sports. And as always, KMCA to all all the other teams, and class is now officially dismissed.